When you're ready for checking that earns interest and gives you perks, Merc Perks Plus from Mercantile Bank is here. With a competitive interest rate and perks like travel services, cashback rewards, and identity protection, Merc Perks Plus has everything you need for your busy lifestyle. Merc Perks Plus also offers discounts on consumer loans, convenient online budgeting tools, and access to almost 40,000 fee-free MoneyPass ATMs. So when you're ready for perks, Merc is here. Learn more at mercbank.com/mercperksplus. Member FDIC. Start your summer road trip at Midas and get up to $30 off your next repair service. Plus, get a free closer look vehicle check to make sure you're road trip ready. If you need brake service, an alignment check, or tune-up, hit up Midas for up to $30 off. For more details, request your appointment at Midas.com.
It's time for the Steve and Kyle podcast. With Kyle.
And then I walk in. And I think, don't worry, guys. I got the rest. What do you guys think if tonight, James Falwan, they see who can hop on 1 foot longer with a finger up their butt?
Their own finger?
No. This is the James Falwan at night show. A foam finger.
Wow.
And Steve.
I have a few of those.
From
my
the side
time
gig?
there, yeah.
The
It was just
show?
filled with bullying, years of abuse,
Yeah.
all coming out in my forthcoming memoir.
What was it called? Monkeys and Me.
That's right. My time at the zoo. Yeah, Monkeys and Me.
My time at
Cool,
the zoo.
My time at the zoo.
Flinging poo.
Live on tape from APS 3 point whatever, it's the Steve and Kyle podcast.
Tickle those ivories, K-Mac.
The dream guest on this podcast,
Kevin McLeod.
Kevin McLeod, obviously everybody knows, formerly of Kevin and the McLeods.
And the McLeods, yeah.
Who has thus far refused to indulge our idiocy. Mm-hmm. And he's not alone. Brief.
It's a long list of people who
Very
choose to ignore us.
As a very brief update to my tale last week regarding former Ohio State running back, NFL player, Mike Weber.
Mm-hmm. M. Webb.
Steve, you were kind enough to tweet at him from the podcast account.
Yeah, you couldn't because you were blocked.
Well, I was blocked on my personal account, and I take that seriously. So I didn't want to tweet myself from another account. I feel like that's disrespecting the original block. Mm-hmm. You were nice enough to tweet at him and say, hey,
long time,
first time, can you unblock my friend? And then you tagged me and put some hashtags about moving on and growing up.
Like a hashtag water under the bridge or something like that.
And voila, hours later, I had a wide open Twitter window for Mike Weber Jr.
This podcast opens doors.
Unless your name is Ray.
Unless your name is Ray, yeah.
Then that door has
been slammed shut.
I would argue, which door has been slammed shut more, Ray or Jack?
Well, I think Jack's door has been slammed shut, much like his coffin has been slammed shut, because Jack is no longer with us. Don't know why you would bring that up. It's a touchy subject.
It's because it still makes me laugh.
That is
we found out while recording this podcast that your former boss that you played Teenage Angst to Steve on had passed away, had found the 5-galloner in the corner, and
punted
that SOB as far as he could. Mm-hmm. Okay? So to find that out on the podcast while discussing a story, your story about openly disrespecting him while, putting your hair back in a headband or whatever because you're like 18-year-old tough guy.
I was probably 15, 16 years old. So as you said, prime teenaged angst era. Counterculture against the authority, screw the man type attitude.
And as you talked about, Jack was a kind man for the most part. He was
I would describe Jack as a stern man.
Okay.
Jack was a stern man that expected the best out of his employees at Acme Markets, Route 130, Cinnaminson, New Jersey.
And would that be not knocking over a pallet of milk?
Yeah. I mean, the best. I would say that if you knock over a pallet of milk and spill 63 gallons in the back room, I wasn't giving it my best that day. Jack had a point.
Now, this is a delight because I would argue the odds that we would ever be able to talk to somebody who lived through that era live in person.
There are a couple people
you worked with?
Yeah, I mean, Doug. My good friend Doug.
So you worked at Acme 137, which again, this was years ago, and of course this podcast is just rehashing it. We Googled it, and it was fully remodeled, and it looked very nice.
Yeah.
But very rarely, Steve, do we have that opportunity in person to talk to somebody who maybe you got home, and maybe you, maybe you kicked that empty tomato soup can all the way home because you were bummed out about the 63 gallons of milk, and you walked in much like Yeah,
I feel like we have to reset a lot of this. This is
and we will after we welcome witness to history our financial advisor himself.
Yes,
outside of Big Dutch Ron.
Yeah, Big Dutch Ron is not here this morning.
I gotta tell you, Ron's a nice man. Can't think of a person I'd want to talk to on a podcast less.
Well, look, I mean, any financial person, any person in the financial field,
just a drag on society.
Couldn't be more of a dull podcast guest.
Honestly, use some of that finance.
No offense.
Use some of that finance to buy a personality, for God's sake. Because you're all the worst of the worst.
But we digress.
And no offense.
No offense. No offense at all. But
we welcome Brother Mike into the studio
Brother Mike
this morning.
has joined us in APS 4.0.
This is 4.0.
Yeah, APS 4.0.
Now, better podcasters, better hosts would have had some music ready, like some big pomp and circumstance.
Hold on.
Right on time.
Yeah.
It's always that one. And that's the one that always like...
do you want...
What's our variety again?
You want me to expand a bit? Brother Mike's here.
I like that one. I do. I think that one fit with the scenario the best. Try the last one. That's the two?
It's the two.
I guess, excuse me, I thought we had three.
No.
So,
no. Hold on, let me...
Again, do you remember the dollars that we paid for that fancy mixer?
Let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, silly me. What was I thinking? We have this lined up, ready to go. This can be...
For obviously when we welcome in, for the first time, a live studio guest in APS 4.0.
You do the the big intro.
So cut all of that.
It's all gone.
So if you're listening, this is still at about 7 minutes.
Yeah, we cut that all out in post.
And it's very rare, Steve, that we get a chance to have a witness to history live in studio. We welcome Brother Mike to the podcast studio. The finance guy.
Wow.
No offense. And as you can tell, Mike, we spare no expense for the good stuff around here.
Yeah.
So while we have Jack and the Acme and Cinnaminson, I don't know this for certain. Didn't you also work at that same Acme, or was it a different one?
Well, first of all, thank you for reintroducing, the PTSD that I
Did you also dump 63 gallons?
No, they didn't trust me with any heavy machinery or big pallets or anything like that.
The bar seems to be pretty low then if Steve was trusted.
Yeah.
The older brother, no way.
No,
yeah.
No.
Get that younger brother with the sideburns.
Well, by the time he was there,
good head on his shoulders.
By the time Steve was there, it was the new store, so they needed bodies.
The new store.
They needed bodies.
Yeah.
No, I started at the old one, the old Acme.
Okay. I started there too.
Yeah.
I was there for about a couple of months, but the big talk was about the new store that was coming to town.
So not to age you, but when you say old store, I'm sure you're referencing, the cashier punching in on one of those cash registers with the numbers are raised, so it sounds like
it was all scan.
It was all scan except for obviously your produce and typing in your PLUs and your tears.
Obviously, you got to weigh those.
Look, you got bananas in a plastic bag. That's weight 1 tear 4011.
Mm-hmm.
But if they manage to put their bananas in like one of those plastic salad tray dish things,
that a 4 tear?
That's a 4 tear.
That was a 4 tear. Yeah.
What is that?
Well, what the tear does, the tear system, Kyle, I'm glad you asked this.
They wouldn't let me check anybody out, Steve, when I worked
so
in the
happy.
grocery game.
I'm so happy you asked this, because if you got your salad and it's in the plastic container,
certainly
you buy it by the weight. Obviously, I don't have to tell you that because you're not an idiot.
So they're going to the salad bar. They got the olives, they got the lettuce, the onions, the whole shebang.
Some corn if you want it. You got corn there.
So they're loading up their lettuce, olive, onion, corn salad.
Well, you only want to pay for the actual consumable portion.
Right. You don't want to pay for the container.
You don't want to pay for the container. No. So what you do is when you hit the 4 tear button, tear, T-A-R-E, what the tear button does is it subtracts the weight of the container. So you're only paying for the salad,
and they just know it's
a universal weight. It's programmed at the factory.
4 tear.
4 tear. Yeah, a 1 tear is going to be your plastic bag.
Right. So like you're filling, you're throwing a bunch of tomatoes or whatever in a bag. That's your 1 tear.
2 tear, I believe, was the small square plastic container, little clamshell container. There was a 3. I guess there was a 3 tear, but I don't remember what it was. And then your 4 tear is your big plastic container.
So what was the time period then that both of you worked at the Acme?
I started at the Acme in 90. I was 16 years old, so it would have been 97.
Okay.
At 1161.
1161, yeah.
Then we moved to 1191.
1190.
So you guys overlapped? Did you work at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to recap, this buffoon was trusted with the pallet or the forklift to remove milk.
Mind blown.
Mike, the guy who now works with people's retirements and livelihoods, was not. So this guy, who spends 60% of his workday cleaning up feces from walls, was the responsible one.
Yeah. It sounds when you put it that way.
What I get. Boy.
I was also the same one that when I got bored at work with friends. We would take the forklift out of the back room, which I believe technically you had to be, since that was a union shop, I'm pretty sure that you had to hold some kind of a license in order to drive it, even though an idiot can drive a forklift, as evidenced by me.
Letting you do it, right.
We would take the forklift out because that grocery store, as most grocery stores do, very high ceilings in there. It's like a gymnasium. And over in the cards and gifts and floral area, they would have balloons, happy birthday, happy anniversary, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
And they would be up in one of those nets that kind of captured them. They'd be pre-blown up.
Yep.
Every now and then, they would accidentally float up to the ceiling. So when it was about 9 o'clock on a Saturday night and we had nothing else to do. But we
closed down or just about to close down?
No. They were open until midnight.
Oh, boy.
And we'd be bored as hell. So we'd say, we have to go on balloon duty. So we'd drive that forklift out of the back room with a pallet on the forks. And one of us would stand precariously on it.
On the forks?
On the forks. Well, on the pallet was on the forks. With a long extension pole that we would just take a roll of tape and put on the end of it, but reversed. So we'd have a big sticky ball. And then we would just go fishing for balloons.
Mm-hmm.
OSHA would shut the entire facility down in a heartbeat if they had seen this.
Absolutely. That was my glory days working for Local 1360.
The glory days where you insulted Jack to his face.
Yeah,
Probably led to the grabber that eventually put him 6 feet under.
I don't think it was a grabber. But I can still close my eyes and picture that interaction. Because for whatever reason...
It's stuck with you enough. It has stuck with you for decades,
Jack
Steve.
was the general manager of the store.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he did not seem to care for me from day one.
Right.
I will not blame him. I will shoulder most of the blame for that.
Right. Well, and based on the era, Steve, what I'm guessing is, new employees are maybe in a line. Mm-hmm. He's going down, maybe shaking hands. He walks up, and you've got your long dumb hair. and he walks up to Steve.
I remember that interaction.
Do you?
And I think that this may be what set the ball in motion for me and Jack's rough relationship. We were there was a line in the sand where it was like, all right, on Thursday you go to work at the old store, but on Friday the new store opens, so you report there.
Sure.
And you'll have a couple hours of training, and then
You're off.
good to go. So I remember walking in there with a couple of other people who were supposed to start our shift at whatever time, and we met the new boss. His name was Jack. We'll call him Jack Smith. I remember Jack walking down the line and introducing himself. Hi, I'm Mr. Smith. I'm Mr. Smith. I'm Mr. Like, he was introducing
To everybody.
It was a formal man introducing himself by Mr. and his last name.
So he did not. Okay.
Now-
So
now-
the implication there is that's how I want to be addressed.
Yeah, exactly. You introduce yourself the way you want to be addressed. Now, Brother Mike, you had worked with Jack, or you knew of Jack somehow.
I had maybe heard of him. I didn't.
There was some. I remember knowing going in, like you had said, "Oh yeah, I know him," or "I worked with him," or something like that. So I knew that his name was Jack. So he's like, "Hello, Tom. I'm Mr. Smith. Hello, Mary. I'm Mr. Smith. Hello, Miguel. I'm Mr. Smith." And he gets to me. "Hello," reads my name tag. "Hello, Steve. I'm Mr. Smith." And I said, "Yeah, Jack, right?" Not meaning to disrespect him.
Not at all.
But acknowledging that I had, I knew of him, or
You're aware.
like you had, yeah, you've met my brother before, or somehow, like you guys know each other, or whatever. And I just remember and then he moved on to, "Hello,
That's
Not
a very
Jane,
not a
I'm
fan.
Mr. Smith." So I think that that set the ball in motion for just a strained relationship between me and Jack.
Did you have that idea of him, Mike? That, hey, Jack's maybe not hard nosed, but hey, he's a man who expects respect, type of thing. And
I'm actually remembering this totally differently.
Oh.
okay, perfect.
Totally
good.
differently. I remember meeting Jack.
Turns out, like, Steve took a leak in his coffee and threw it on the ground in front of him.
Yeah, welcome to the new store, Jack.
And then 20 years later, it's, I just said his name.
I remember multiple Jacks who ran Acme's in South Jersey.
They all dead?
Good question.
Food for thought.
I only remember meeting
run it-
Dead Jack. I only remember meeting him once
Really?
because I came back from college to see if, and I walked into the store to see if he would like hire me for the summer, and he's like, "Yep, you have to work third shift, but I'll hire you."
Okay.
And it was very matter of fact, very,
He was a businessman.
he was totally a businessman.
He was a businessman. Showed up every day, shirt and tie. He was a businessman.
He didn't seem like the kind of guy who was having conversations with his employees about, getting drunk at bowling the night before. Wasn't the MO of Jack.
When he was at work, he was working.
Yeah.
I'm sure in his personal life, he was probably a completely different guy, but I think he just came from that era where I'm at work. This is business.
Yeah,
business.
keep it that way.
Business is serious.
Right.
So
Did you work for him for third? Did you decide third shift was going to be okay working for?
you did, right? You worked for
I
third
ended
shift
up-
for a summer or
I
something?
ended up working, third shift for a summer, and I mean, a lot of people would think that, oh, you just go in and you screw off because nobody's there, but those
Right.
guys actually were. It was actually a pretty.
With
I hate to use
laborious?
I hate to use the word professional because it was grocery stores, but those guys actually that ran that third shift were pretty serious and they did their job. They were good guys, but you couldn't skirt your responsibilities. You had
It's
to,
a
you had to go at
well-oiled
it.
machine.
Right.
It actually was. It actually was.
Well, I mean, it's not like Acme is one or two stores. They have a bunch of locations. Like, they figured out a system that works to, charge people for groceries and still stay open.
Sure.
What was it the Acme experience then, Mike, where you said, there's not a day after I'm done with this that I want to work with my hands again. Let me just deal with people's retirements and look at the life drain from their eyes when I tell them they're down another 8% this quarter and they have to work another year.
You're always going to deal with people in whatever walk of life
Sure.
that you do. It's easier to deal with rich people than stupid people.
Well, I'll put that on the poll because I honestly, I don't. If you had to pick today, Steve, you have to have a maddening conversation. Mm-hmm. Let's say it's about, someone hit your mailbox, right? But they stop. Would you rather have that conversation with a dumb person or a rich person?
I mean, I would rather a rich person wrong me than a dumb.
I guess in that regard, in speaking of wronging,
because then I'm getting the nicest new mailbox there is,
right? And I guess So if I'm looking at anything financial related, going with that, I really don't know, because dealing with what we would label a stupid person is maddening.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd rather. I guess I would probably rather deal with the rich person. Mm-hmm. Although you never know. A lot of times rich people, fell into money somehow.
There are rich dumb people.
Yeah. And I'm not. This is not me saying he's rich. I don't know that. It's an acquaintance of mine, and it was so funny because I spent years longer than you guys. But you guys did manual labor. You went to college. You got jobs in different fields where you don't have to do that. I worked in manual labor forever, part-time to full-time, and this was. Vacation time was, you're 19, you don't even know what that is, you're getting it very limited. So for me, I'm kind of used to that, and I'm now used to a norm of like, hey, 2 to 3 weeks vacation. That's the standard. That's good. So when I was talking to somebody within the past 6 months, and he had said about his job that he gets 7 weeks vacation, and he's our age.
All right. So is he?
And he had it, but what?
Has he been there a while?
I mean, 10 years.
Okay.
But what stood out to me was wait, you only get like 3 weeks vacation?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And so, like for future conversations that you have regarding this, you are an absurd outlier on this graph.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's people... I think dealing with a rich person, like if you, have whatever issue and you have to deal, they are looking at that so differently than you would, Mike would, most people would, that they're going to assume you're automatically dumber than them anyway.
Sure, yeah, because in that conversation with the rich person, you're the dumb person.
Yeah.
You're the one that they're saying, oh, I had a conversation with a really dumb person today.
Yeah, right. You're now the dumb person in this.
Yeah.
This is a real Inception moment.
Yeah, this works both ways. This absolutely works both ways. But we digress.
Yeah.
So going back to the Jack relationship, it was off to a rough start. Relationship was already on the rocks. I believe that Jack held that against me.
You think that stood out for?
In hindsight, I think that looking back on it, I can see why that was me not respecting his authority, his the employer-employee hierarchy. There were...
I disagree.
Really?
I think that goes out the window, and I'm curious what you think, Mike, because you deal with wealthy people, their money, and clients. So it might be a little different in the professional world for you. I would argue the Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so goes out the window if you're not in school.
I mean,
I would actually not be okay calling my boss Mr. Smith.
Right,
Hi,
but
Mr.
if he
Smith.
had introduced himself to you that way, that's probably how he wanted you to refer to him.
But
so whether you're comfortable with it or not, I think with Jack it was a respect thing.
But it almost feels like a power move because was assistant manager, Tina, was she calling him, "Hey, Mr. Smith, can we have that meeting at 1?" I cannot fathom.
Yeah.
People near. To me, this feels like a power thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you got to consider the times also. This is what, like,
it was the 90s, right?
Mid to late 90s.
Yeah. Sure.
He was, he was definitely on the back nine of his career at that point. Mm-hmm. Today, you would never see that. He was, I think, probably. I can't remember ever calling anybody by Mr. or Mrs. in my entire retail career.
Right.
Like, even when I'm like 16. So I just think he was probably the last of a dying breed.
Well, yeah, literally, because he died.
And now he's dead.
Because
So-
I got to say that still stands out to me. That's a bit shocking because not that he's dead, but again, just to remind you, you never were able to close that loop for yourself that you felt so bad about. But I honestly think that was him being kind of a dick. I think it's a dick move.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, yes, it does seem like that, but I also kind of understand it a little bit more. But I do remember the moment that it was the figuratively, yet also accurately, the nail in the coffin for the relationship with Jack. And we had a couple of dust-ups, which I could not even begin to tell you what they were about.
Right. Well, the one was he said something somewhat kind to you, and you totally dismissed him.
That's what it was. Okay. So we had a couple of dust-ups, some issues. Then I had the incident where I was taking a pallet of milk into the dairy cooler. I dropped it, and 63 gallons of milk in what can only be described as a milk tidal wave flowed forth through the back room. Took me 3.5 hours of a 4-hour shift to clean it all up. The part of that really sucked was that normally if a store has damaged goods, they can get credit for them. But this was Acme brand milk. So there was a policy like they don't get credit for their own damaged goods. So this is
you'd be charging in a longer circle, you're charging yourself for the mistake.
So 63 gallons at that time, milk was probably like $2 a gallon. It's not a ton of money, but it's $120, $140 somewhere in there, maybe.
Low margin business.
I remember going into work later that week and Jack pulling me aside and saying, "Hey, Steve, the milk incident from the other day. I talked to some people. We were able to get credit for that milk." He did me a favor, did me a solid. And I remember just saying,
a nice thing.
I remember saying, "Okay." and
walked away.
Walking away. Yeah. Instead of saying, "Oh, thank you so much. I'm still torn up about that." Just hat in hand, being the guy that truly feels sorry. So I didn't say anything other than, "Oh, cool." And later, skater, hitting the road. So then that made him not like me even more. Then there was some point where my work ethic was brought into question. So for the next,
in hindsight, fairly or unfairly?
Probably fairly. So for the next couple weeks, I was like model employee. I went in and it was like clocking in at just the right time, getting right to work, getting all my stuff done. I'd be caught up on work and I'd go up front and say, "Hey, does any other department need help? I got some free time." I got just being model employee,
like clocking in and then blowing on your name tag and shining it with your hand.
Yeah, spit shining my shoes before work every day.
Dropping an apple off on Jack's desk.
So I remember him. I still remember exactly where I was. I was stocking an end cap, like the end of the aisle at the grocery store. I have all my products sitting there on the U-boat. And Jack walks up to me. This is after a couple of weeks. And he said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know, so-and-so," whoever my direct manager was, "so-and-so says that you have really, really stepped up your game lately. And you've been working really hard." And it still makes me cringe to this day. And I'm still embarrassed by it. And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, "Huh. Yeah, I mean, I haven't changed anything. Doing everything the same. Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about."
Just defiant until the literal end. For Jack, but the literal end. And I posted it on the poll.
And I remember the look. He just kind of looked off in the distance, shook his head, said, "Okay," turned around and walked away.
And that was probably the last olive branch Jack had for you.
Jack's olive tree was bare.
Yep.
It was just a trunk.
And as we all know, barren olive trees all die.
That they do, Kyle. That they do.
I did post it on the poll. How many months do you think Steve took off Jack's life? With 4 different options, all the way from 0 to 12 plus. Interesting to see that.
My condolences
to the Jack family.
To Jack's family.
We found. I'll never forget sitting in that corner of this basement,
pulling up the obituary,
and finding the obituary. Once you texted me his last name because it's not fair to.
Yeah, I don't want to put the Smith family out there on blast.
Right.
All right, real quick before we move on, we want to talk about our sponsor, Athletic Greens, and their product AG1. So if you want better gut health, more energy, and optimized immune system, maybe you hate taking pills or vitamins on a regular basis and you want a supplement that actually tastes great for once, you can see what the hype is all about with Athletic Greens AG1. It doesn't taste like it's super healthy, which is nice. It kind of has a mild tropical taste that you'll actually look forward to drinking on a regular basis.
With just one scoop of AG1, you're going to be absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. It's a special blend of ingredients meant to support your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Literally all the things. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, Steve. That's it. No GMOs. There's no chemicals, no artificial anything, and it still tastes good. It's going to cost you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health for that price, and it's cheaper than that nasty cold brew coffee habit that you seem to have every single day. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health.
Yeah, and to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/emerging. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/emerging to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
So, Mike, you guys both were at the Acme. Steve decides to go deal with Talking Heads, works for the NHL. You're probably envious because you're the sports guy. What did you think when your brother called you excitedly that day and said, I got a job with the NH frickin' L? Because that's, like, I'm in terms of my favorites, right? And probably you're the same. Hockey it's not the top. But I'd still consider myself a fan.
Hockey used to be, for me, number one.
And you guys, I mean, we talked
growing up
much about Steve's roller hockey glory days.
Oh yeah, Maple Shade Street Hockey.
Oh, yeah. And you remember you told me
that was street hockey.
That was street hockey.
Not roller. Sorry,
not roller.
If I remember right, it wasn't that long ago that we privately spoke about seeking out a roller hockey league to play in here.
I still have my skates.
Which again,
they're about 20 feet from here, from where we sit.
There is nothing more insane to me that those rollerblades have made how many moves with you? From New Jersey to the apartment, from the apartment to house 1, from house 1 to being a tenant, and from being a tenant to this house. So that's made 4 moves.
4 moves.
You've had to justify looking at those things in your basement or wherever, putting them in a box and saying, yep, got to take these with me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Haven't used them once since I've lived here for 13 years.
Did you use them in in general? I
remember, before I moved here from New Jersey, I was actively in a roller hockey league until like the day before I moved here.
Great. So you're wrapping up, they're carrying you off on skates.
Yeah.
Your plastic stick hanging over your head.
I'm not going to be able to join you for the playoff run.
Please win one for the Gipper.
I still have my jersey hanging up
in my
closet.
Was it a t-shirt or an actual sweater?
No, it was an actual, well, it was like one of the mesh ones.
Okay, but still the same idea.
I still got mine.
Yeah.
But, Mike, you find out your brother has a job with the NHL. Is your first thought, hey, I'm so happy for him? Is your first thought, which would be mine, think you can get me tickets?
I honestly don't remember. Okay. I don't remember how that all went down. It was, around 2008 maybe?
Yeah, I worked there from July of 2008 till May of 2009.
Do you remember that conversation, telling your family?
I actually remember. Okay. I actually remember. Yeah, because it was at my wedding. I got married in July 2008.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was that's pretty cool.
So you found out 3 months after he started? We're running theme in the family here, guys.
As opposed to 3 years.
That's insane to me to think about. But you guys were decently separated distance-wise?
Yeah. I mean, it would have been at least an hour and a half.
But still, I mean, and so granted, there's cell phones, but there's not cell phones the way we think of cell phones now. But still,
I was in the middle of a wedding. I was planning a wedding.
Sure, I mean, right. Well, obviously, Mike, you're neck deep in figuring out seat covers and the head table lighting situation, and
Yes.
do you want candles or floating candles on each table?
What are they stocking at the bar?
And then you have to talk about the seating chart, which we all know is just the biggest nightmare of every wedding.
Yeah.
What? I get that the seating chart at a wedding is a nightmare.
I don't remember it being that bad for us.
But when the alternative is to say, we don't care, sit wherever you want. No way. That is
Chaos.
Unacceptable.
Yeah,
Absolutely unacceptable.
You gotta
You have
some,
to put some thought into
yeah,
it.
You got to have some
Right.
kind of control over that.
And the problem with the seating chart is that eventually you're going to come to anywhere between 1 and 3 tables. And at one of those, you're going to have 1 seat. At one of them, you're going to have 6 seats.
Yep.
And at one of them, you're going to have 3. And you're not going to know what to do. Well, we're still waiting on RSVPs. What if, so-and-so decides to come even though they're a week after the deadline? Or they're a week before and they say, hey, we're here. Where do we sit? And then you got rid of a table. And now where do you put them? In the corner by the DJ?
And plus, people don't get offended by that. Like, have you ever been to a wedding where you had a bad seat?
Right. You know what? It's an opportunity, if you want to look at it that way, to either mingle or look at it the other way. It's a seat to eat.
Yeah.
And then you go do what you want.
Oh,
You're
I'm dancing.
at
I'm
the
dancing the
bar.
whole time. I'm at the
going to
bar.
be on the dance floor. I'm going to be on the dance floor. No question.
Yeah. I remember sitting at our wedding. I sat to eat, and that was it.
Yeah, and
the
it is
rest of the time, it's different, obviously, when you're
Right.
the one getting married.
Yeah,
but
you have to mingle with everybody who took the time to come there. Yeah. Do you remember your wedding? Were you a dancer, Mike? Is that
Not really, no.
even at your wedding? Did you cut a rug?
I'm sure I did. I know I did at a couple of moments, but I was mostly we were walking around. We were talking to people. We were, mingling.
I feel like I remember you dancing at Steve's
wedding. I was pretty hammered, so I'm sure
Me too.
I'm sure I was.
one and the same, sir.
I remember we had to.
And we went out afterwards.
We had to twist your arm
To go out
to go
afterwards.
out afterwards because
No,
you were gonna pull the trap door.
Twisting an arm is a falsehood. Lying to me is the accuracy.
What did we lie about?
I believe I had to hoof it 3 nautical miles, it seemed like, to
Right,
get
'cause
to
we were at
wherever
sea.
we were out at sea. So I had to go dock to get to this bar
Yeah.
at whatever it was, 1 a.m. I'm already drunk, exhausted.
Yeah.
To go, oh my gosh, miserable.
I had a blast that night, man. I had a.
Oh, goodness gracious.
That was fun.
That was a
night.
fun.
I
The after party was fun too.
And
Yeah.
I apologize. I missed the speeches because I have, over the years, my main goal at every wedding that I go to is to simply maximize
The open bar.
the open bar.
Yeah, of course.
And to do that, the best time to go, and if you can time it out, that's perfect. So if you're not in the wedding party and you're kind of observing and you kind of see, better yet if they have a program, right? Like, hey, we're doing this, and this.
Yeah.
Love it. Because then hey, they're going to go cut the cake. I know that
That's your time to.
I need
Sneak out.
I need to have my drink done. Okay, so I can go sneak out and grab one because there's going to be people with their, Fuji films getting terrible camera angles of Steve and Annette cutting their cake. Me, I'm the only one talking to the bartender who, you slip a nice tip to at the start of the night.
Oh, of
That's
course.
the key.
You give them the 20 at the
You
beginning.
give them a 20 the first time you get a drink.
Even though it's an open bar,
It does not matter.
there's still
one,
I
you
mean,
want,
there's the hierarchy rank.
obviously, and one, it's still a service industry. You should still
Right,
tip
right.
that.
They're getting
Even though-
stiffed.
even
They're
though
getting
we-
stiffed by a lot of people.
Right.
So you want to stand out for a good reason.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think that I remember we had basically I had a stack of cash that day.
Yeah.
So I could tip
photographer,
the limo driver,
yes.
the photographer, and the bartenders, because I don't even remember. I don't know. There were probably 2 or 3 bartenders working, but I
Yeah.
remember just giving them. It was probably $200 or $300 at the end of the night.
Yep.
Here you go.
Split it up.
we had factored that all
Yep.
in. I remember going to the bank the day before our wedding and just getting
getting cash.
Yeah.
just getting a ridiculous stack of
Would have
cash.
been better if you just told them all ones, so they really wonder what this is all for.
Yeah.
I went up there, so this is probably the 2nd or 3rd trip I've been up there, and to say I was a little bit nervous, Steve, was an understatement because
To get a drink?
we walk into your wedding and the hors d'oeuvres going around. I'm thinking, oh boy, I feel a little bit out of place.
Oh no.
It was like those. Do you remember them, Mike?
I remember it was not specifically any of the foods. I remember it was a nice
It was upscale.
It was very
and I'm
upscale.
not used to upscale in terms of hors d'oeuvres. It was like Capri's.
Oh, caprese
salads.
Yeah, the little mini caprese salad.
No. Oh no!
I think we had some
and outclassed here.
Didn't we have some bacon wrapped scallops too? I
Yep.
think.
And that that's upscale for me, and it's simply not for me.
Look at where you sit.
Right? No,
Would
I know.
you expect anything less?
We're at the estate.
Than upscale.
But a lot of that, I think, is like we're from the Northeast, and I think it's just done differently.
It is.
It probably is because when I was figuring out what I wanted to eat for, and we wanted a late night thing at our wedding for people who had been drinking to get some food in them before they go, and the stuff before I just wanted to, basic, accessible for whoever, right? So crackers, cheese, fruit, split, and then at night it was like bacon wrap or not bacon, pretzel wrapped.
Yep.
Hot dogs that came late at night. So
perfect.
I walk into this and I'm like, oh no, I feel way outclassed here.
Yeah, people were talking.
And I feel like I'm still the talk of Steve's wedding because of how out of place I felt.
Yeah, I mean, we have a whole page in our album dedicated to Out of Place Kyle. I think there's a picture of you peeing in the corner.
Oh, God, and that wasn't even the low point.
That was just that's just how you thought it worked.
I remember coming around, and the first time I got a drink, they had run out of I forget what you would call them, the short glasses for mixed drinks that they would do in mixed drinks mostly.
Yeah.
So they gave me a pint glass. So that
Beautiful.
was my baby.
Yeah.
Because the second I give that back,
You're not
they've obviously replenished the small glass.
Yeah, they were
by
probably just doing the dishes.
And you had Tito's on the shelf, Tito's vodka. So Steve, I was absolutely hammering Tito's and Diet Coke.
Yeah.
And I say that as somebody who heard 0 seconds of either the maid of honor speech, the best man speech, saw 0 seconds of your first dance.
Yeah.
Because
didn't see us cut the cake with it was funny because
didn't even know you had a cake, Steve.
Well,
they didn't have a knife.
The DJ, the DJ comes up to us and he said, "Hey, after this song, you guys want to go up and cut the cake?" And we're like, "Heck yeah, that sounds great." So, you and Carla had gotten us the the cake pedestal, very nice cake pedestal, and then the nice knife and little
scooper thing,
a little spatula, like very very nice,
like shiny, so it'll look nice.
Exactly.
I put a lot of thought into that gift.
Sure,
very nice.
Yeah.
So they had gotten that for us, and now we didn't do like a wedding planner or anything. We had somebody that Annette used to work with who did. She had some experience doing party planning, so she said, "Hey, if you want like I think it was called a day of coordinator or something, let me know." So it worked out great. She kind of helped, like, okay, photos are going to be here, you guys are going to be there, everyone, like just getting all the little loose ends tied up. But the one thing that we had forgotten to mention to her was like, oh yeah, we have this beautiful cake pedestal and the knife and the spatula. So when the person who made the cake brought it out, it was just on like the little cardboard tray. Okay. And they were like, "Where do you want us to put this?" And we were just like, it was at that moment that Annette and I looked at each other and we're like, "Oh crap, left that at the house."
So it's almost like the bowling alley pizza
that's
that's cooked on cardboard and comes out of the cardboard.
And so we said to somebody who worked at the venue, "Oh, can we get a knife?" And they looked at us, and I don't know why I didn't question it further, but they were just like, "Yeah, we don't have any knives." And I thought, in the moment, I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense. They don't have. Wait, why wouldn't they have knives? This is a wedding venue.
You're a wedding facility. Like, this is your
like
thing.
You don't have one knife,
right? A butter knife. Go grab. Go to Uncle Bill's table where he didn't eat his meat. Thanks, Bill. I got to pay for that anyway. Yeah. And then grab the knife and bring it up here, please.
So we're standing there, cameras focused on us. Everybody gathered around in like the semicircle while we're standing there with this cake sitting on a table, not on a pedestal, but on a piece of cardboard. And I just had to say to our wedding guests, "Anybody got a knife?"
Oh, God.
So our good buddy, Combs, who was attending the wedding, is a career military man.
Yeah. Did he bust out a butterfly knife that had been used to fillet the...
100% what I cut our wedding cake with. And there are pictures of me using his ridiculous military switchblade.
That's the most insane thing And again, I'd never heard that because I couldn't care less because I was getting a drink. And the key and I'm glad that you told me that story so I can now, reminisce about your wedding someday and act like I was actually there.
Yeah.
Because the key with those early drinks, Mike, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, when you're at an open bar situation like that, I don't need it, but it's also really nice. So there's the few tips I would give. Tip heavy, tip early. Make sure they see it early, right? Yes. Drop the 20 in on the first drink or second drink unless there's a lineup. You want to make sure you're noticed. You want a little eyeball time.
Yeah.
Okay? Whether it's 30 seconds, if it's dead, maybe you take the few first sips off your drink, have a few minutes, converse with that bartender so when you come back up 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour later, they can look at you and go, Tito's and diet, right? In the pint glass. I go, you got it in the pint glass. Make sure to bring it back. No need to scrub it. It's got my germs all over it anyway, and I'm not giving it to a soul tonight.
Yeah. Sage advice.
Yeah.
We're at an age now, though, and I believe I may have talked about this with Steve, though, where, again, I'm in my late 20s. Steve, early 30s.
Early to mid 30s.
Mike, early 30s.
Yeah, definitely early 30s.
We're getting to that age, though, where friends and family of our age, like those weddings are drying up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
I haven't been to it's been a couple of years since I've been to a wedding.
Second weddings.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah, that's right. I was at a wedding back in the fall, but it was a friend's second wedding.
So we're at a point now.
Boy, did I enjoy that. Boy, did I make my wife not happy.
But do you try to cherish those? Because you don't know. Then they're just gone.
I take advantage of them more, I believe.
You need to plan them out much more. And especially when you have kids and everything. So you need, hey, I want a night out. We got to get the kids taken care of, whatever.
Yep.
And, time to go hit the open bar. You don't realize it. And then they're just vanished.
Well, it was because there was that couple-year period where it was, I think there were like 8 weddings in the span of 2 years.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, I remember looking back on it and enjoying it in the moment.
Yeah.
But that got really expensive.
Right, you're buying gifts. And,
I was not making any money
enough
back
to
then.
justify it. Right?
Yeah, not at all. But you still you don't want to be the guy that shows up with here's a block of cheese.
Right. Yeah.
Hey,
here's your $20 Blockbuster card. It's got $18.50 on it because I got a Blockbuster Classic rented last Friday. So sorry. But Mike, you're friends with the neighbors, and I don't want to get into it because I think it's dumb. But again, don't want to get into it.
Right. Just need to make sure that
Are you kind of looking at the families and being like, all right, they got their kid's 15, like that, but they got like their kid's 19, so it could be 2 to 4 years, and maybe we got another one coming up, huh?
You've got different classes of friends in the neighborhood, and I would say the weddings that we would be invited to are the ones where our kids are really close. Like I'm friends with a lot of people in the neighborhood, but their kids might be older or younger.
Right.
It wouldn't, I wouldn't expect.
You wouldn't get the invite.
I wouldn't expect an invite to that type. But if the kids are close and we're that just kind of makes you closer with the parents, I think.
By force, though, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think happens when Daniel's off to high school or college? That relationship go the way of the dodo?
I think you have to factor in alcohol consumption,
right?
Because there's a couple of the guys that are just big time drunks.
Yeah,
and
so you're having a garage drink with the neighbors occasionally.
Very common.
Okay.
Very common. Yeah. So I think that'll stay in place with some of them. Yeah.
Just lock the door, sit on my couch, silence, watch what I want, listen what I want in a temperature controlled environment.
Boy, it sounds great.
We were talking last week about...
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no.
How many people do you think will actually show up to your funeral? 6? I mean, your brother's not going to be there.
He's busy. Or dead. 2 options there. Either going to be on his boat because it'll be on a weekend, or dead. So I guess I'm holding out hope that I would die before you, and that you would then be free that day. Because, again, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Mike, I'm sure you heard, Steve, with the 30% chance to retire, is going to be board-opping the noon to 2, Holly Weird bits and hits with Jess and the goofball, and he's going to die while pressing a button to play a fart sound.
You're gonna die at the board.
I'm gonna die at the board. That's
how
I hope to go.
I would need to die before you.
So your son? Yeah, I mean your son's not going to your.
No, my son's going to be moved away. Probably a full head of hair, no glasses,
driving a convertible,
family,
so that wind just blows through the hair.
Hasn't thought about his poor genetic hand-me-downs in decades. Can't be bothered enough to come back and handle the estate.
Yeah,
which is nothing.
Right. Right, yeah. When we say estate, you're not talking about the sprawling property that you're living on. You're talking about the debt that you've incurred.
Yep.
What do we do with this when we die? Does this stuff, not the stuff per se, but the audio archives of this, do we put it in our will that, hey, Mike, if you're still alive, Mike needs to curate the audio history.
Boy, that seems like
of Stephen Kyle. Exactly. I want, because we're gone. We don't care.
Yeah. See, now we got our will written up last year or the year before. I don't believe that when they asked about like assets and what you want done with your legacy. Yeah. I don't think I mentioned the podcast, but I might have to go back and pay a couple bucks.
You got to establish a trust
to get that.
And appoint trustees.
Yeah, we have a trust. Actually, you're
no. I'm talking about just for the podcast.
Stephen Kyle podcast trust.
You have to have a trust for the Stephen Kyle podcast.
Side note: you are the trustee for for me and Annette's trust.
Yeah. Thanks for
surprise.
I think we even put in there because they said that you can allocate funds. So, like say Kyle, say I made you the appointee or the
trustee of the trust that is handling your affairs. Yeah.
So basically, when I croak, you got to go around and like go to the bank and say he's dead. Yeah. Call this person. He's dead.
Yeah. I got to pay your outstanding America Online bill.
Yeah. And then, but you're able to allocate money to pay to that person.
Right.
And I think we put in like just as a screw you, we put in like $38 or something.
So Mike's trying to cut a check to a guy who's coming to like fix the fridge. From the end, he gets a call the next day from Bill the plumber. Hey, your check bounced. And so Mike goes and fishes out the trust docs and says he can handle any financial or fiduciary responsibility not exceeding $37.99.
All right.
So you got that coming your way.
And somewhere Mike is shaking his fist as Steve and Jack have an awkward stare-off in whatever depths of afterlife there is.
That's what you call full circle right there, folks. Full circle.
Mike, the one question I've had to ask, we joked about it took 5 years for Steve to find out you had switched jobs. It took you, the day of your wedding to find out Steve had gotten a job with the National Hockey League.
Yeah, but it was that's when it happened.
I thought he said May, and he got married in July.
No. Well, they got married in July. I worked from July of 2008, which is when they got married, until May of 2009.
Just about to
My
start.
apologies. I thought I got the months. I thought you had started in May, and you just took 3 months to keep anybody abreast of your career change.
No. Well, first of all, I'm smart enough to know that no one cares about my career changes.
But without getting into any depths of family dynamics or anything, do you remember where you were, what you were doing, the conversation you had? When your brother, maybe you were at a family thing, maybe he called you and said, I'm so excited, Mike. And you said, why is that? And he said, because I'm living in my apartment and I just bought a jet ski.
We were talking about this, and I have no recollection of the jet ski.
Really? Because here's my question to kind of frame the whole scenario is you went to college, you came back, you worked third shift. Were you in the financial industry pretty quickly after that third shift at the Acme?
Yeah, third shift was just a random summer. Okay. Yeah, no, I had a job lined up like a month after graduation.
So you were understood finances. You were working in the field already.
Yeah.
At the point, Steve, would that timeline overlap then of him working in the financial industry when you had bought?
I bought the jet ski in, I believe it was 2006. Or 07.
Oh, God, that long.
I feel like it's later. Every time I ask you, in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, like 2002.
Well,
like he got back from the abroad, and he's like, I'm going to get a jet ski.
No, the only reason I remember is I remember that the jet ski that I bought was a brand new 2007 model. So I probably bought it. I don't know what the how like with a
2007.
car the new models come out in the fall, but I would have bought it. I remember I bought it at the beginning of the summer.
Okay.
So I don't know if that would have been 07 or 06.
So you were knee deep in the financial field.
At that point, I would have been. So 06?
Yeah,
06 or
06,
07.
Yeah, so I don't remember. I remember hearing that he got it, and I don't remember much about it other than that.
Let's play this out. Let's do a little role play then, because I'm curious. Obviously, it's a little different now. Your knowledge and working in the industry now and working with money and how everything looks 2022 is a little bit different than maybe it was in 2007 before
Definitely.
literally every home went under and people lost everything they had. But let's say Steve calls you, or anybody, doesn't have to be Steve. They're in their 20s. They're living in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Renting from, like, not even renting where I'm establishing any kind of credit or anything. I'm just paying someone else's mortgage.
Yep, you're not subleasing or
yeah, I was.
That is
because
the term.
because I had 2 roommates at the time. One of them owned the place, so I was paying his rent.
To stay there.
Yeah,
paying to have an address.
I didn't even have a parking spot technically.
Okay.
There were spots there, but it was first come, first serve.
So mid-20s person calls you. They decided at a younger age you're going to handle what I make and help me out. And he says, "Hey, subleasing this house. I don't have a parking space, so I also have a storage unit. I bought a jet ski 45 minutes away from a large body of water." What is your reaction? Is it horror? Is it okay? We can work with this.
Yeah, I would not have recommended that. I always equate it to, so early 2000s, my good friend lived in Northeast Philly, all row houses. And those houses back then probably went for, I don't know, 70, 75 grand.
Okay.
And then, so I'd go over there quite a bit. And in front of the house, in front of a bunch of these houses, you'd always see like, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 cars. Basically a car that costs the same amount as the house. And I'm thinking to myself, that is such a stupid investment. Like put that into a house, move out to the suburbs or something like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone along with the jet ski. Although, look, if you're going to waste your money on one thing, I guess you could have done worse.
Really?
Yeah.
What would have been a worse hobby
how much
toy
is a
investment?
Jet ski? How much is a jet ski?
And I don't know if you remember or you want to say, Steve. You don't have to.
No, I think at that time the jet ski cost me. Now it was brand new, 07 Yamaha.
Off the floor. You drove it off.
Yeah, it came with the trailer included.
Of course. You need the trailer.
I think that the extent of my wheeling and dealing back then, I got them to throw in a life jacket.
Wow. Not even a cover for the jet ski, but a cover for you.
Yeah, it saved me like $60. But I thought I screwed them in the deal. I was like, yeah, that's right. Really bent them over.
Well, wear this on the ocean, you suckers.
I think I paid, I want to say $7,000 for it.
Okay. So not in the realm of... But
$7,000's not going to kill you.
No, but that's but at that age, and that's kind of in the realm of if you had bought a second car.
Well, let's see.
A nicer second
At that time,
car.
I think I was making $24,000 a year. So put it in perspective.
How did you get approved? Do you remember the interest rate on that thing?
It was high.
I bet.
It was
like a credit card.
It'd be like 19.99.
No, I want to say it was 15%.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was very high.
Well,
what do you mean, how do you get approved? They'll approve anybody. They see me walking through the door, they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to approve this guy.
They're telling the accountant in the back to get the money printer ready because idiot walked in.
Yeah. Stupid me walks in. I don't know what interest is. You say I can buy a jet ski and leave with it today? Hell yeah. I'm taking it.
But so we don't leave everybody here with just the dumb stories and idiotic questions, Mike. For people listening in their 20s or 30s right now who do want to buy something that it might be fun, but not kill their chance at retirement. Again, Steve, the 30% chance at retirement. Constantly, once a year, considering is he going to be sucking on a hose when he comes home because he knows he's not going to make it. What is something you would advise is not the death knell? Hey, if you want to buy this and splurge a little bit, it might not appreciate in value, but it's not going to depreciate 30%. It's not going to kill you if you take some money out to buy this.
God, I don't know, actually.
Because most people can't afford property. I mean, I think we can rule that out, right? Like, in your 20s and 30s, you're not going to be able to, hey, you know what? I can buy this duplex and rent it out to people. It's just not financially viable.
It's a great investment, though. Yeah. It's typically a great investment. I don't know. Because I was never... I was pretty boring financially. You know, it was just funnel it into a 401k, or an IRA. I was never like a car guy or anything like that.
Right.
I was pretty basic, but I didn't necessarily look down on people for making stupid decisions.
Oh, you should. Let me just fire off some options to you, Mike, and then you comment. You can just you can either give some.
This is better.
You can give some evidence.
This is just going to be a rapid fire.
Yeah, and you can say good, bad, or if you have some context you want to add to it, that's fine as well. Camper.
Not in your 20s or 30s.
Baseball card collection.
5 years ago, probably now. No, it's probably maxed out again. So no, not right now.
Cottage.
Yes.
So that would fall under. I would argue that would fall under just real estate if you can afford extra real estate.
Yeah, that's part of. It's
going to go
real estate.
Probably better for you.
This is going to sound very specific, but
it's definitely not.
It's definitely 1988 Jeep Comanche, more rust than metal. Hypothetically.
Not in your 20s or 30s. Okay. Oh, but you're in your early 30s, right? So that's probably not for somebody Steve's age. Probably not a good idea.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, if you were in your early 40s, it'd be okay.
Oh, okay. Oh boy, do I have to admit that.
But it's okay because you have a house. You're married. You have kids.
Right.
You can. It's okay to do that kind of stupid stuff later on.
Right.
Not when you're
feeling pretty good.
Not when you're 23 making $24,000 a year and you're paying 15% interest on a $7,000
jet ski loan through GE Money Bank.
I would love to see your credit report just for that little blip. Everything surrounding it,
everything's
and then
pretty,
just that thing.
Pretty smooth, and then they're like, "Oh, here's the one red flag."
Oh my God, that is just a boat.
Never. What does BOAT stand for?
Bust out another 1,000?
Yeah.
Just constantly.
Yeah. Definitely not a boat.
Comic book collection.
I think that's okay when you're in your late 30s, early 40s.
I'm trying to figure out a way to phrase it.
If you have kids, you can share the hobby with them.
Yeah.
I think it's okay.
You don't let your kids touch, or you don't let Reed touch
that idiot.
I have a buddy who's a comic book dealer, and
there can be money. Yeah.
He's doing all right.
He'd be more likely to eat the book at this point than want to read the details that I'm trying to offer him.
You said you're trying to come up with a way.
Yeah, I was trying to a way to phrase if you want to invest in developmental business space or office space,
I wouldn't
property kind of thing, but not a house. You know what I mean?
So a commercial property?
Yeah.
Yeah, commercial property I think's okay. Office space right now? No, I wouldn't touch it.
Yeah, when you think about right now,
no,
boy, that's...
I wouldn't go near office space.
You thinking of getting into the
Listen, if there's going to be a downturn in office space costs, it's now. Yeah. I think we jump. Second chance office.
SCO.
And you and I turn office spaces into storage facilities.
For
that's okay.
Office furniture.
Yeah, that's right. So then we just buy the space and
just leave everything.
Yeah, and just leave everything and then lose money. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think we got the framework.
Yeah. We'll flesh this out in the end.
A snowmobile.
No, not a good idea.
Okay,
not a good idea.
What about a used snowmobile that you can get for $1,500?
Keep in mind you got to get a trailer with it.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say you're out the door. $3,000.
That kind of goes with the whole camper thing. If you're outdoorsy and it's something your family likes to do, I think that's okay.
I'm finding it really hard not to want a camper.
Steve, we're at the same spot in life.
Really? You want a camper too?
I don't want. Here's the thing.
Are you buying one?
I despise camping. Despise it. Think it's awful. Overrated. Give me a hotel room. They do everything for you. Okay? My wife likes it. Ergo, I must like camping.
Yeah.
I don't have a choice.
You jumping in?
I'll never go in a tent. I'm too old. My body cannot handle that.
Okay. Do we finally have common ground?
About 5 times a week, Katie sends me camper listings.
small, typically
You
pop-ups,
okay, pop-ups,
or slightly larger. I forget what you call them.
The teardrops. You got to look into the
Oh,
teardrop.
like those the newer version, like kind of the Airstream look, right?
Here, I'll pull up a picture on the Tron.
What is it with you? Because you're the financial guy, Mike. So what is the one thing with you where it pulls you? I want to buy this. I want to do whatever.
I despise camping.
Okay.
And I've got 2 kids in Scouts, and I absolutely despise it. I think it's, why would you want to sleep outside?
Right.
Why would you want to set a fire outside?
What's the indulgence, though, for you where you have to tell yourself this is a bad idea, don't do it, don't do it? Is it, baseball card collection? Is it season tickets to the Philadelphia Eagles? Is it, you want to buy a boat? Is it you want to buy a sports car from the 60s?
You're probably talking to the wrong guy. I am really boring when it comes to that kind of stuff.
But that's smart. Like I wish I wasn't drawn to waste money on stupid things like a Jeep that a family and a dog had been murdered in from Louisiana.
Like, look at this. That's a cool little camper right there.
Yeah, that's nice.
I don't like it.
You don't like it? Okay.
I not that I don't like it, but I'm looking at that and I'm thinking there's no room for expansion in that. Whereas you see the pop up and the front and the back end kick out, and sometimes there's a little. Whereas that, I'm like, all right,
are we going to both get campers?
Katie, I've got 1 kid. If I have a second kid, do I bring the dogs? Like, in that teardrop, I'm ready to jump out the window while we're on the highway.
For the last 6 months, I've been obsessed with teardrop campers.
Are we going to get campers in the next few years? Can we become camping people?
Are we going to have like a fireplace or the fire pit? We're going to bring the mics. We're going to record.
It's going to feel like a cartoon because we're going to pull into our camping spot simultaneously where we both back in. And then we're going to press a button almost, and then the awning's going to pop out, a rug's going to be there, gravity chairs explode out,
and then neither of us are going to get out of the camper the whole time.
Yeah, and then it's
3 days later we hit the button, it folds back up, and we drive away.
And then it's going to be raining all weekend and super windy, so you can't have a fire. Water's in the 50s, and you realize, why do I do this? Press the button, load her back up, head home, say, can't wait to do this next week.
Having never stepped out of it, I was never a camping person.
Me neither.
I enjoyed Cub Scout camp. I always thought that was fun.
Yeah.
But we never went camping growing up, but Annette's family did. Like, they would go camping every summer, and she's kind of out of it now. But all I've been talking to Evelyn about for the last month is how me and her are going to go on a camping trip together.
Really?
Now, I mean, it's going to be a camping trip in the backyard where we have the fire pit set up.
Well, you got to test it. You have to test it first. So I think that's probably very wise.
Yeah.
I talked to Reed about going to the hotel water park again and Disney World one day.
Yeah.
Because while we may end up camping, I just don't. I don't want
to. But you're going to get a camper.
Probably in the next few years. Yeah. We are waiting. Okay. The idea is to wait until after Katie's done with school for all major. No. That's a must.
No.
We have to wait until Katie's done with school so we can.
Buy.
Financial guy. Smart idea? Buy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you heard it here first. I got to get a camper.
You got to get a camper.
We'll check in at the end of the week.
Let me know when you're getting a camper. I'm going to buy one at the same time.
Just going to find one. Doesn't matter. Hey, this one looks okay.
Yeah. Well, that concludes this week's financial advice segment. As always, we are not responsible for any shortfall.
Yeah, we don't make up the losses here. But in fairness, very sound advice of buy, don't buy, yes, no. He wouldn't encourage any of the stuff himself.
Apologies to Robert. Lost him by about 6 minutes.
So close.
Thought we had it.
I'll apologize to him when I see him at your funeral.
He's not showing, so thank you for coming.
Yeah. Probably send a proxy in my place.
So Evelyn's going to be at my funeral representing you.
Some guy died. I don't even know who he is.
Wearing a Second Chance Jeep shirt. Unbelievable.
All right. Apologies. We have to cut this one short, but we're talking to somebody in a few minutes. Big thanks to Brother Mike for joining us on the podcast this week.
Not enough time.
Not enough time.
Honestly.
Maybe if we can squeeze in another episode after we talk to this person in a little bit, we'll try and do that. But at Stephen Kyle, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Got some polls up there from this week. We got a bunch of polls that I think that we have to review, right? Probably a month.
Yeah, we got to get through about a month next week. Let's pen that in.
All right. We will make sure to skip that next week.
No question we're missing it.
Talk to you then.
When you're ready for checking that earns interest and gives you perks, Merck Perks Plus from Mercantile Bank is here. With a competitive interest rate and perks like travel services, cashback rewards, and identity protection, Merck Perks Plus has everything you need for your busy lifestyle. Merck Perks Plus also offers discounts on consumer loans, convenient online budgeting tools, and access to almost 40,000 fee-free MoneyPass ATMs. So when you're ready for perks, Merck is here. Learn more at merckbank.com/merckperksplus. Member FDIC.
If you and your team want to cut down on busy work and get more choice and control over accounts payable, you need Bill. Bill Accounts Payable is your secret weapon for saving time on AP. And with the special offer at bill.com/podcast, you'll save money too. With Bill, streamline your entire AP process, including bill creation, approvals, and payments. You can pay with ACH, credit card, check, and international wire transfer. Plus, you can easily integrate with most accounting software. No wonder hundreds of thousands of businesses are already using Bill to manage their AP. Schedule a free demo now to see how Bill can automate your financial operations. And right now, get 15% off when you subscribe to Bill Accounts Payable. There's never been a better time to sign up. This special offer is available for a limited time only at bill.com/podcast. Terms apply. See bill.com/podcast for details.